everybody, welcome back to Let's Talk. I am your host John, and today here on the channel we're going to be talking about 1994's New Nightmare, which is the final film in the 4K steelbook collection that we've been talking about for the entire Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. And for a lot of people, this is the last Nightmare on Elm Street film. A lot of people, including myself, don't like to include that 2010 remake, which I think is an absolutely horrible film. But it does have its fans, so I don't want to shit on it completely. But for a lot of us, this is also the prelude, the prologue to like what Scream would become 2 years later. But I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. If you're just here for that 4K Blu-ray review, you guys can skip ahead to that right now. But if you are here for that film review, let's talk a little bit about New Nightmare. So, Freddy's death was supposed to be the end of the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, but like they even bring up in this movie right here, because it's a very meta horror film at that, is that the fans want it. All the Nightmare on Elm Street movies were at least financially successful. They're very cheap to make. They usually get a return. This movie itself cost, I believe, $8 million to make. It only had a return of about $19 million, but that's still turning a profit, baby. And this one is directed by Wes Craven for the first time since A Nightmare on Elm Street in 1984, 10 years before this. He also wrote this film. And it's funny because he writes this movie and he ends up directing Scream 2 years later, which he turned down the script a bunch of times. And this movie feels so similar to Scream, even though I will admit it's not as good as Scream. In fact, it's not even close to as good as Scream. And they even bring that up in Scream itself. In the beginning of the movie, like the first Nightmare on Elm Street is good, but of course the sequels are all terrible. That's including New Nightmare. And you know, New Nightmare, I would say it's in the upper echelon of Nightmare on Elm Street films, but the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise is not the greatest franchise when it comes to quality. It's just a very fun horror franchise. They're actually trying to go a little bit more of a serious route with New Nightmare, try and take it back to the roots that I would say that the first two films had, while also going with this new meta approach. Horror in this time is really on its deathbed. People are trying to revitalize it, save it any chance they get. Wes Craven's still been cranking out film after film. John Carpenter at this point still making movies. Horror films are still coming out. Peter Jackson, you know, he would do The Frighteners 2 years later as well. But Wes Craven came up with this idea about Freddy Krueger. What if everybody who was in the first Nightmare on Elm Street film, John Saxon, Heather Langenkamp, like what if Freddy was getting revenge on them now in the real world in Los Angeles in 1994? And Wes Craven, you know, he's starting to have nightmares again, and that's why he's writing this script. He's writing the script that as the movie goes on, we can see that those scenes are happening in front of our eyes. They're even trying to recreate scenes from the rest of the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, mainly from the first film, which is pretty cool to see it now in the real world. It's also cool to see Los Angeles in 1994. This movie reminds me like of a horror version of 1992's The Player, directed by Robert Altman. Everyone just kind of having a good time. You know, you also realize that no matter what, Heather Langenkamp, not really the greatest of actors. The flaws that she has in A Nightmare on Elm Street definitely still carry over 10 years later. So I wouldn't say that she's the greatest lead actress, but of course she is one of the biggest scream queens of all time, and she's chosen to be the star of this new Nightmare on Elm Street film. This being a film itself, you know, that's not her real husband, that's not her real kid and all that. Her husband in the movie, though, the way he dies in that FX truck, man, is absolutely crazy. That stands out in my memory from the old VHS days, and the VHS compared to the 4K Blu-ray, which we'll get into later, is very night and day. But I remember that kill being very scary. I also remember the scene very much at the funeral for that man, like when Heather Langenkamp like started to lose her mind. Obviously, you know, her husband just died and Freddy's back, and Freddy's real at that. When she goes into the casket, like I just love the production design in this, like the set designs. You know, it's a little bit more subtle, a little bit more back to basics. We're not in these absolutely crazy, but something I love, set pieces from the other movies. They're more subtle, more realistic. Again, they're trying to scare us a little bit more. But at this point, you know, Freddy's very different. The more realistic approach that they're taking. He's still got the one-liners in there. He's still got a very similar look. In fact, the makeup effects I wouldn't say are the greatest. I would think that they would want to go back to what he looked like in the earlier films, like in Nightmare 1 and 2, like that more moisture look. Instead, he's kind of got like what he's looked like in the last few films, which is just very cartoonish and very artificial. So I think they could have done a little better, and it's kind of ironic because we start this movie off with an awesome opening scene, by the way, very meta in itself. But these people are special effects artists. I would think they would do a little bit of a better job on the special effects in this movie. But again, Minor complaints. Overall as a film, though, I think this one is good. I just don't think it's great. I would say it's like a 7 out of 10, somewhere in that area. It's fun to watch every few years. This is another one of the VHSs that I had as a kid, so I watched it a lot as a kid. And I just think that, the scenes where it's got to be dialogue driven, some of the acting just kind of drags it down. And it's funny because Wes Craven himself, who acts in this film, does a phenomenal job. I would love to see more of Wes Craven, and he didn't even want to be in that one cameo in Scream. I think he actually does a pretty damn good job. And the film itself, like I said, enjoyable enough, fun, a little bit more serious than what we've had in the previous, I would say, 4 films in the franchise. Definitely a step up, kind of a return to form. It's one that's out there. I think it's fun to watch this one and then go into 1996's Scream and just see Wes Craven evolve even more. And for that, it's definitely worth your time. But what about this 4K Steelbook that we're going to talk about right now? Is that worth your time and money? Let's talk about it. And this is it. This is the last one in the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise 4K Steelbook review. So we're going to go into this one last time and we're going to be pulling out New Nightmare. So let me pull that out. And here it is. Again, just like all the other ones in here, we get that original movie poster art on there, just on a matte finishing, and you're removing the border and all of that. Come around to the back. You got some artwork right there. Just like all the others, this is a 1-disc set, but there is a difference in this 4K Steelbook compared to all the other ones, because this is where the new featurettes are, the new extras that we've been talking about that were really hyped up. Are they actually good? The answer is, they're alright. They're about 6 minutes long, each of them. There are 2 brand new ones, which have new interviews with Robert Englund, Chuck Russell, who directed Nightmare on Elm Street 3 and also directed The Mask, the DP for Nightmare on Elm Street 2. So they got a couple of people in there doing interviews. Now, what I'm a little bit confused about is you sat these guys down and you got, 3 minutes, 4 minutes of footage from each of them? I assume you have more of it, or I assume if you brought them in to rewatch these movies, which they do talk about is how these new 4K scans look, I would assume that you would probably want to interview them a little bit longer and separate those conversations onto the other 4K Blu-rays and match them up with the films. These are very similar to the exact same featurettes that we've seen on Constantine and other Warner Brothers releases recently, where it's they brought them in and they just made a quick 7-minute featurette or maybe 2 7-minute featurettes. They come in around the exact same time frame as all those other recent Warner Brothers releases. So they kind of just have a formula here when it comes to these 4K Blu-ray releases. Lethal Weapon, exact same thing. And it just feels a little bit lazy to me. I mean, I just thought we were promised a little bit more the way they were hyping this up. I thought we were going to get a lot more extras compared to that. And why are they only in New Nightmare? It doesn't really make sense as well. It just feels very lazy. You do get all the previously released extras, which are, very good. They're mostly an interview with Wes Craven kind of spread out. I appreciate that, but again, I've seen it all before. I would have liked a little bit more. You get the trailer as well. So overall, as far as these extras go throughout the entire franchise, I thought we were going to get more. Instead, we mostly just got everything that we had previously had, and we got 2 new featurettes, and that was it. They are good, 2 new featurettes, but they're nothing. You're the studio that put this out. You could have done a little bit more for a franchise like this. I appreciate everything. I appreciate everything that they've done with the visual and audio upgrades. I appreciate that Steelbook housing. I absolutely hate how they handled rolling that out so that everyone could have got it, but they did it in a very lazy way. They kind of did these extras in a very lazy way. But they didn't take the lazy way when it comes to the audio and the visuals. Just like all the other ones, this has a Dolby Atmos track on it. The Dolby Atmos track is very good. There are some very action-heavy scenes in here. All of that works very well, and mainly the opening scene, the scene where Heather Langenkamp's husband dies on the freeway. All this stuff is mixed very, very well. All the Dolby Atmos tracks have been done very well on these 4K Blu-ray releases, so we've just been kind of comparing them to each other, but the quality has been very high, and that's one thing I've been very impressed with. Same thing with the visuals. I think there's a step up from Freddy's Dead, part 6 over there, but I still don't think that the visuals hit the quality that we had on, Nightmare on Elm Street 3, 4, and 5. I think that, what do they call that? The Nightmare Trilogy or the Dream Trilogy or something like that. Those 3 movies, I think we had the best quality in the visual and audio department. Now, the quality of film, we can debate that all day, but as far as the visuals and audio go, I think even though these all have HDR10 and pretty much have the same exact aspect ratio throughout, the same exact kind of audio tracks, the varying degrees of quality really comes down to how the films themselves were shot and how the audio was recorded at the time. So that's the stuff that kind of changes how you view these 4K Blu-rays. So I really do believe that part 3, 4, and 5 are the highest quality when it comes to the 4K Blu-ray release. I would say that this is a slight step up from Freddy's Dead as far as the 4K Blu-ray releases go, but it's still right in line with Freddy's Dead, which is still a very good 4K Blu-ray release. And if I was going to give New Nightmare a score of 1 to 10, I would give this one, just like Freddy's Dead, an 8.5 out of 10. Now, what do I think of the entire box set? Do I think that this is worth your time and money? I would actually say that the standard edition is the way to go. After seeing it from my buddy Frank from Frank's Media and Reviews video and like seeing how it actually looks, I probably would have gone that route and saved some money. I didn't love the artwork on it, but after actually seeing this in person, and I'm glad I got it. I really am glad, but I don't love the way Warner Brothers handled it. I don't love the way that Amazon handled it, and I just don't know if it's worth the extra. I think $85 in total I paid after it was all set and done. I don't know if I can justify that, just because they really didn't handle the special features well, which I know a lot of people are probably rolling their eyes at me for saying that, but one thing about physical media since the DVD era has always been special features. That's always been something that really made me want to collect physical media, and I hate seeing the major labels like kind of take the lazy route when it comes to this and like just kind of treat them like an afterthought, like, hey, we already got that shit in the can, we don't need to record more of it, or if we do, it's going to be in a very lazy way. It can be done. The boutique labels like Arrow Video, Criterion, Scream Factory, they're all still doing it, so the major studios can do it as well. They're just making a conscientious choice to not do it, and I have to call them out on that, because I know there are still a lot of people out there who do care about the special features, but they really did do a great job in the visual and audio department, and I would say that's why, you know, if you can get your hands on that standard edition, it'll probably go on sale. It's definitely under $100. That's probably the more definitive way to go over the Steelbook collection, which I bought myself, which I'm still very happy to have. I'm glad that I finally have these movies all separated out onto their own discs and their own individual packaging, but if I could do it all over again, I'd probably go with the regular standard edition to save a little bit of money. But anyway, guys, that's going to do it for me here on another episode of Let's Talk. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, share this video if you could. We also have channel memberships, guys, so if you want to become a friend of the channel, a producer for the channel like John Doe Juggalo, Harvey Scott, Ben Rondo, you can do that, or you can even bump it up to the channel directors tier like Frank from Frank's Media and Reviews, Nicholas Head, Stone Gasman, Uncle V, and Kevin Kruger. You can do that, or you can even pump it up to the channel bankroll members like Mr. Smelly Potato. But of course, guys, if you have no money to throw my way, I don't mind at all. I just hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, get out in those streets, tell your friends about us, and then we'll be seeing you around.